It had been 6 months since I last saw my son Arav. 6 long, silent months since that night, the one filled with shouting, slammed doors, and words we both wished we could take back. When he texted me that morning saying, "Let's meet for lunch, Mom," I didn't hesitate. My heart skipped like it used to when he was little and called me Mama. I didn't even ask where, I just said yes. We met at a quiet restaurant by the lake. He looked different, older somehow. There was a calmness about him, but also something distant in his eyes. We exchanged polite smiles, the kind you give strangers, and sat down. He ordered for both of us, remembering my favorite mango juice. "You still like this, right?" he asked softly. I nodded, trying to ignore the lump in my throat. I wanted to reach across the table, to apologize, to tell him how empty the house felt without him, but the words stayed trapped behind pride and guilt. We talked cautiously at first, then more freely. He told me about his new job, the friends he'd made, and the small apartment he was renting. I laughed more than I had in months. For the first time since the fight, it felt like we were finding our way back to each other. As the meal went on, I noticed him glance at his phone several times, frowning. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah," he said quickly, forcing a smile. "Just work stuff." Then he stood up suddenly. "I need to take this call. I'll be right back." He walked toward the exit, phone pressed to his ear. I watched him disappear around the corner. My juice sat in front of me, the ice melting slowly, beads of condensation rolling down the glass. That's when I noticed the security guard, a young man, maybe in his 20s, watching me from near the entrance. His brows were furrowed, eyes darting between my glass and the door Arav had just walked through. Before I could ask what was wrong, he started walking briskly toward me. His expression was urgent, panicked even. "Ma'am," he called out. People turned to look. I froze, my hand halfway to the glass. He reached me in seconds, slightly out of breath. "Ma'am, please don't drink that." I blinked at him, confused. "Excuse me, I saw your son," he said, glancing toward the door. "He poured something into your juice before he left." For a second, I just stared at him, the words refusing to make sense. My son Arav. No, he wouldn't. But the guard's face was pale, serious. "Please, step away from the table," he said quietly. My heart started pounding as I looked down at the half-empty glass, the faint swirl of liquid catching the light. And suddenly, I wasn't sure I wanted to know the truth. I stared at the glass, my reflection rippling in the amber liquid. The air felt thick, as though the restaurant itself was holding its breath. Around me, forks clinked, laughter hummed, yet all I could hear was the echo of the guard's voice. "He poured something into your juice." My instinct was to defend Arav. "There must be some mistake," I said, forcing a shaky smile. "My son would never." "I saw him, ma'am," the guard interrupted softly. He looked around first. Then he took something out of his pocket and poured it in. I felt my stomach twist. Maybe it was sugar. Or medicine. "He knows I'm diabetic sometimes." The guard's expression didn't change. "You should let me call the manager." Before I could respond, Arav returned, slipping his phone into his pocket. "Everything okay?" he asked, glancing at the guard. The young man straightened, suddenly nervous. "Sir, could I speak with you for a moment?" Arav frowned. "About what?" The guard looked at me, then back at him. "It's about your mother's drink." Something flickered across Arav's face, surprise, fear, guilt, I couldn't tell. He forced a laugh. "What about it?" The guard hesitated, then said, "I saw you pour something into it." Silence. Complete, crushing silence. The words hung between us like smoke. My son looked at me, his eyes dark, unreadable. "That's ridiculous," he said finally. "Why would I do that?" I searched his face for reassurance, for the familiar warmth I'd known since the day he was born, but what I saw instead made my heart tremble, not anger, not guilt, but sorrow. "Mom," he said quietly, reaching for my hand, "you don't believe this, right?" My throat felt dry. "Arav, just tell me the truth." His hand froze halfway. For a moment, the mask slipped. There was something in his eyes, regret, pain, a silent apology. Before I could say another word, the manager appeared. "Is there a problem here?" the guard quickly explained. The manager frowned, picked up the glass, and took it toward the bar. "We'll check the CCTV and test this," he said firmly. Arav stood up, his voice trembling slightly. "There's no need for all this. It's just juice," the manager cut him off. "Sir, please wait," Arav looked at me one last time. His lips parted, as if he wanted to explain something, but then he turned and walked out of the restaurant. I watched him go, my heart cracking with every step he took away from me again. The manager returned moments later, his face pale. "Ma'am," he said softly, "we'll need you to stay for a few minutes. The lab nearby can test the sample immediately." I could barely hear him. My eyes were fixed on the empty chair across from me, the place where my son had sat, smiling just an hour ago. And for the first time in my life, I was afraid of what the truth might cost. The minutes felt endless. I sat alone in the restaurant, staring at the untouched dishes, the half-melted ice, the lonely chair across from me. Every passing second scraped at my nerves like broken glass. The manager returned after what felt like forever, holding a small envelope. His expression was a mixture of confusion and concern. "Ma'am," he began gently, "the nearby pharmacy tested the sample. It wasn't poison." I let out a shaky breath. Relief flooded me, but only for a heartbeat. "Then what was it?" I asked. He hesitated. "A mild sedative." My breath caught in my throat. "Sedative?" He nodded slowly. "Something to make a person drowsy or weak. It's not lethal, but still unusual." My mind spun. Arav, my sweet, quiet Arav, had put something in my drink to make me sleepy. Why? I left the restaurant before anyone could stop me, my phone clutched in my hand. I called him again and again, but every ring ended in silence. Finally, I texted Arav, "Please, just tell me what's going on." No reply. By the time I reached home, the sun was dipping low, painting the sky in bruised shades of orange and gray. The silence of the house pressed against me, filled with ghosts of laughter and memories. And then a soft knock at the door. I rushed to open it. Arav stood there, head bowed, hands trembling slightly. His eyes were red, as though he'd been crying. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. I didn't know whether to hold him or to scream. "Why, Arav?" My voice cracked. "Why would you do something like that to me?" He didn't answer right away. He walked into the living room, glancing around at the familiar walls, the family photos, the old clock, the framed drawings he'd made as a child. His eyes lingered on everything, like someone saying goodbye. "I didn't want to hurt you," he said finally. "I just didn't want you to be awake." My chest tightened. "What are you talking about?" He swallowed hard. "There's something I needed to take from the house. Something you'd never let me have if you were conscious." I felt a cold wave of dread wash over me. "What did you want, Arav?" He looked at me then, truly looked at me, and for the first time, I saw it. The fear, the desperation, the guilt. "I didn't take it for me, Mom," he said softly. "It's for someone else. Someone in danger." Before I could respond, a knock thundered on the door again. This time, louder, sharper. Through the window, I saw the flash of a police uniform. Arav's face went pale. "They're not here for you," he whispered. "They're here for me." And before I could stop him, he turned toward the back door. "Arav, stop!" I shouted as he reached for the back door. He froze, his hand hovering over the handle. The pounding on the front door grew louder, the kind of knock that didn't ask for permission. "Police, open up." My knees felt weak. I moved toward him, blocking his escape. "You're not going anywhere until you tell me the truth," I said, my voice trembling. His shoulders slumped. For a moment, he looked like a little boy again, the same boy who used to hide behind me when he broke a vase or failed a test. But this was no childish mistake. "Mom," he whispered, "please, I'll explain everything, but you have to trust me." "Trust you?" I choked out. "After you tried to drug me." He winced, eyes brimming. "I didn't want to. I didn't know what else to do." The front door creaked under the pressure of another knock. "Arav Mehta," a voice barked. "We have a warrant." My heart pounded so hard I could feel it in my throat. I glanced between him and the door. "Tell me," I demanded. Now he took a shaky breath. "It's Ria," he said. I blinked. "Ria? Your friend from college?" He nodded, tears finally spilling down his face. "She's in trouble, Mom. Real trouble. Her boss, he's been blackmailing her for months. She gathered proof, but he found out, she ran. He's powerful, dangerous, and he's after her now. I've been hiding her." My mind reeled. Hiding her? Where? He hesitated. "Here, in the storeroom." I gasped. "What? I didn't plan it like this." He said quickly. "She had nowhere else to go. I thought I could get something from your safe money." The documents, anything to get her out of the city. His voice cracked. I knew you'd never let me take it willingly, so you tried to make me sleep, I whispered, the pieces falling painfully into place. The sound of splintering wood made us both jump. The police were forcing their way in. Mom, please, Arav begged. You have to believe me. I didn't poison you. I was trying to save someone's life. Before I could respond, the door burst open, and 2 officers rushed in. Hands up. One of them shouted. Arav raised his hands, eyes still locked on mine. I'm not resisting, he said quietly. I stepped forward, but an officer gently stopped me. Ma'am, please stay back. Wait, I cried. He didn't hurt anyone. He was just the officers didn't listen. They cuffed him quickly, reading out his rights as he stared at the floor, silent and broken. As they led him toward the door, I reached out, my voice trembling. Arav, tell them the truth. Tell them about Ria. He looked over his shoulder and whispered, I already did. Then, from the hallway behind us, a weak voice spoke, one that sent chills down my spine. Mrs. Mehta. He's telling the truth. I turned. Standing there, pale and shaking, was a young woman I hadn't seen in years, Ria. The police froze when they saw her, a thin, frightened girl with tear-streaked cheeks, clutching the doorway like it was the only thing holding her upright. Ria Sharma? One of the officers asked. She nodded weakly. Please, don't take him. Arav didn't do anything wrong. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. The senior among them lowered his weapon slightly. Ma'am, we've been looking for you for 2 weeks. There's a missing person report, and I wasn't missing, Ria interrupted softly. I was hiding, because if he found me, I'd be dead by now. Her voice trembled, but her words came out like a confession long overdue. My boss, Mr. Verma, he runs an NGO, but it's a cover. He's been laundering money and threatening people to stay quiet. I found out when he realized I had proof. He came after me. Arav, he's the only one who helped. The officer's tone softened. Do you have evidence? Ria nodded and reached into her coat pocket. She pulled out a small flash drive, her fingers shaking. It's all here. The accounts, the threats, the recordings. Everything seemed to slow down. The officers stepped aside to take her statement, one of them already on the phone, his voice urgent but respectful now. Arav stood there, still in handcuffs, his eyes locked on me. I moved toward him, ignoring the officer's outstretched hand to stop me. My voice broke as I spoke. You should have told me, Arav, I would have helped you. He smiled weakly. I didn't want to drag you into it, Mom. Verma has people everywhere. If you knew, you'd be in danger too. I thought if you were asleep, I could take what I needed and be gone before you ever knew. Tears burned my eyes. You're my son. You think I'd rather be safe than help you. He looked down, voice barely a whisper. After everything I said that night, we fought. I didn't think you'd still trust me. That broke me. Without thinking, I wrapped my arms around him. The cold metal of the cuffs pressed against my skin, but I didn't care. I just held him, my son, the boy I thought I'd lost. Moments later, the officer who had taken Ria's statement returned. His tone was different now, respectful, almost apologetic. Ma'am, we've confirmed her story. Your son's actions, while questionable, were in an attempt to protect her. We'll need him for questioning, but he won't be charged tonight. I nodded through tears. Thank you. They led him gently toward the door. Ria walked beside him, whispering something I couldn't hear. Just before he stepped outside, Arav turned to me. I'm sorry, Mom, he said softly. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I smiled through my tears. Come home when it's over, Arav. We'll talk, no more running, no more secrets. He nodded, and for the first time in years, there was peace in his eyes. As the door closed behind them, I looked at the untouched glass of juice on the table, the drink I never sipped, the drink that almost stole my trust. And I whispered to myself, sometimes love doesn't look gentle. Sometimes it looks desperate, but it's still love. Outside, dawn was breaking, pale lights spilling through the curtains. A new day, a new chance to heal.